Well, hello there, dearest listener. Look at you coming back to another scandalous episode. Yours truly may have gone on a Bridgerton rewatching binge and is suffering with temptations to speak as if I'm the marvelous and mysterious Lady Whistledown. Setting aside these allures, this episode will be like any other, aside from this intro, of course. I'm Lady Kate. No, not the real one from Bridgerton, sadly. But the other all-too-familiar member of our ton is the questionably disgraced Lady Nat. Oh
Disgraced?
my!
Okay.
What horrors and provocations will we get up to this episode? Well, dearest listener, you'll have to stay around to learn the latest news, for this is Wading into the Void. Few questions. Am I insane? Yes. Have I really been rewatching Bridgerton? Yes. Did I just start my master's program and could be making better use of my time? Probably. Yes. Will I continue to do what I do regardless? You betcha. But with that thrown out there, my internal spiraling and falling down the rabbit hole of doing a bunch of unpredictable things, but self-fulfilling, didn't prevent me from getting my work done or putting together what I hope is another good episode for you all. What makes it even better is that Nat has absolutely no clue what case I'm covering today. I've kept this secret from her for like 2 weeks. So she's along for the ride, just like all of you. There's yawn number 1.
There's yawn 50 million out of 10 bajillion.
For her sake, I will give the smallest hint that this one is one that we have personally talked about covering a few times. I'm not sure if we mentioned it on the show or not, though. But we have
I think I got a sneak
this.
peek of something on Google Docs.
You bitch.
I read it before it said super secret episode.
Well, that's just rude.
You're the one who changed the title.
I know. Now, before we do our traditional tarot and oracle card readings, we have something very exciting to share with you all. Nat and I are heading to Paracon.
Paracon!
We're going to meet the bigwigs from some famous TV shows, aka the famous investigators from Ghost Hunters, Destination and Fear, and so much more. Better yet, Paracon is held at Penhurst Asylum, one of the most haunted locations on the eastern side of the U.S. Nat, do you want to share some more details on Paracon and how we found out about it?
Yes! I do. So, well, I don't know how much I can really explain besides about who told us about it, because I want to keep the rest of it a secret until my episode.
So many secrets these days.
I know, we have so many secrets. But I stayed overnight at a building that's haunted. A very famous haunted building, which I won't tell you yet, but we will be doing an episode about it. Mm-hmm. And it just so happened that nobody else had booked a room at the place that I stayed at, except for 2 other people who were together as a couple, and one of them just so happened to be a medium. And her name is Bianca Rose. And she is a very, very lovely lady. And she gave us all a free reading. And she was amazing. And we found her on Instagram. And she just happened to tell us about Paracon. Yeah. Like, completely coincidental. We became friends with Bianca. And we're going to hang out with her when we go.
Yes. Shout out her Instagram handle for all the people that want to go follow her.
So let me get she has 2, so let me get the one that's not a backup.
Guys, we're making so many friends.
I know, it's crazy.
I have to be honest, I didn't think this show was gonna bring us, like, friends. Out the wazoo, but...
Yeah, I know. We made so many friends. It's crazy. First Diana, now Bianca.
Someone else who
other
might make an appearance at some point.
We don't want to shout them out yet, just in case.
Oh no, it's set in stone. We just have to pick a date.
I haven't read the messages yet, so
stay tuned for that one.
Yeah. So you can check out Bianca at Medium Bianca Rose on Instagram. No underscores, no nothing, just Medium Bianca Rose. And that is her main channel. She has a backup channel, but follow her main channel because that's where she has over 2,000 posts because she goes crazy.
And a good chunk of them are about her haunted doll. What's the doll's name again?
Lyrica. Amazing. And she has our reading on there. It's one of the most recent ones that she did at this haunted location. And it was crazy. So check it out. Give her love. I
still haven't
she
seen
deserves
this
it. Oh, really? I'll send it.
No, but for real, Bianca seems pretty great, and we can't wait to see her at Paracon, where she is going to be doing readings. Is she technically considered a vendor there, or is she like a special guest of some sort?
Wait, what?
She's going to be doing readings at Paracon. Is she technically considered a vendor, or...
I think she's like a vendor.
Gotcha.
Probably, yeah. She didn't specify.
I'm excited. It's going to be hella fun.
Yeah. She might be staying at the same hotel as us.
Yeah. She was like, where are you guys staying? And we were like...
Yeah, where are you staying?
We're like, you know, because we're not going to tell you where we're staying, but...
Oh, I told her.
No, not her.
The
listeners, in case there's like a psychopath that's listening.
I was like, I sent her a link, Katie.
I'm like, I know. It's fine if she knows where we are.
Yeah, I trust her.
Do I trust all of you? I would love to say yes, but I don't know many of you.
Yeah, I don't know.
So small little slip in there to join the Discord so we can get to know you. But
yes, please.
We're going to segue over into tarot time. You know, get that out of the way. We're doing things a little differently today because for some strange reason, Nat misplaced, like, a shit ton of her decks and can't find things. So...
Okay, it's not some strange reason. I know where most of them are, kind of. I brought them to a tarot party.
Oh, so she doesn't have them on hand at the moment.
No. Literally all of my Oracle decks were misplaced except for the Earth Power deck.
Yeah, so with that, I'm doing the Oracle card today.
We love Stacey DeMarco, but the Earth Power deck is just too much information.
It's too much for this podcast. Like, there was just way too much there.
If you like a lot of geographical information, stuff like that, then you'd love the deck. But for a podcast,
where you're trying to do your tarot reading in like 5 minutes max. Ugh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So today we're using the go-to when we don't have something else, the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit Guidebook by Miss Kim Kranz.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we pulled Lizard because these are all animals. So here's our card, Nat.
Interesting.
I'm personally not a fan of lizards, but this is interesting
cool.
Because I have recently been trying to tap more into my medium or psychic medium abilities because I've mentioned a few times on here that I have those, but for the most part of my life I've tried to squash those down, but for the sake of this and ghost hunting, I think it could be fairly useful.
That's true.
So, lizard means instinctual, sensitive to the subtle, and dreamer. The lizard is an expert in the realm of sensory perception, as if it has a sixth sense. The lizard hears what is yet to be spoken and sees what is yet to manifest. Although this is an amazing gift, it can easily wear the lizard down. Big crowds, lots of travel, or overstimulation will drain a lizard of their magical essence. This card is an indication to pull back from the bright lights and big city and return to the inner artist who's been whispering your name. When in balance, it means artistic, telepathic, and spiritual. When out of balance, it stands for elusivity, non-committal, and flaky, and to bring into balance, work on a creative product or project of sorts. So I thought it was interesting to get this one. It literally jumped out of the deck at me. I didn't pull this since I am trying to tap into that more. But I am being very weighed down and overstimulated by all the other things going on in my life right now.
And also, we've been kind of flaky with the podcast, not intentionally.
We have a lot going on.
Yeah. But that's just, like, how it turned out. Because, honestly, this next card kind of explains my side of the spectrum. And that's where we move on to our Oracle, which is a deck that we really do not use that much, but it's very beautiful and colorful, and I want to use it more because I like it. Okay. And that is the Mystic Mondays Tarot by Grace Duong.
Oh, hey, this one.
Yeah, I was actually gifted this by Claire, which is one of my friends from college. Hi, Claire, if you ever listen to the podcast.
The real question is, Claire, why haven't you listened to the podcast?
I think she has. I want to say that she has. But,
it's a great deck. Strongly recommend.
Katie, did your window used to be a door?
No.
Why are there stairs?
It's the Bilko.
What's a Bilko?
My escape route if the house ever catches on fire.
Oh.
For me to legally live down here, when my parents dug this out by hand because, you know, good old Vermont things, they had to have a separate exit. So, Bilko. Smashable window. Crank handle. The window opens. But my plan has always been take something heavy, chuck it as hard as I fucking can at the window, and crawl through.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's why there are stairs in my window.
I never noticed it because it's usually, like,
dark.
Pitch black.
Yep.
Yeah.
The lights
or
on,
there's an
I think
air
Henley
conditioner.
had to pee.
Huh?
I think Henley had to pee, so the light's on. She doesn't like the dark.
Literally the first time that I've noticed it, and it's been like a year.
Quite frankly, we don't like letting Henley out when it's dark either, because she is a black dog and, like, literally looks like midnight, and we cannot see her at all unless, like, the light shines against her eyes, and then it's, like, green. But, yeah, no. The lights are on when Henley goes outside at night.
So, the Mystic Mondays Tarot deck, the card that we got for today is the reversed Eight of Pentacles. I mean, hang on. Oh, wait. You know what? That also makes sense. We did not get the Eight of Pentacles, just letting y'all know. We got the Nine of Pentacles reversed, but they're very similar meanings.
Okay.
Which is very much so also still the same side of the story. So the Nine of Pentacles reversed represents self-sabotage, materialistic, and dependency. Flashy feathers with no substance to get back up the glitz and glam can only get you so far. What the fuck did I just say? That didn't make any sense.
Is it worse that I understood it?
Flashy feathers with no substance to back up the glitz and glam can only get you so far. I think I added a couple words in there.
ADHD brain still understood what you were saying, so.
Yeah. You can feel it in your bones that you were meant for something. Holy crap, I cannot read. I'm just adding words.
Do you want me to read it?
Huh?
Do you want me to read it?
No, I want to read it. I haven't done this in so long. Okay.
It has literally been like 2 weeks since we recorded last.
I know, I'm so not used to it anymore. Flashy feathers with no substance to back up the glitz and glam can only get you so far. You can feel it in your bones that you were meant for more than where you are currently, but something is getting in the way. Change your mindset and deep dive into your core beliefs that may be sabotaging your intentions. Showing off what you don't have will eventually get you into trouble. Having the best of everything is shaping your perspective on life, affecting your relationships, and putting pressure on you to maintain a high income to keep up with your expenses. Define what is important to you and what value the material things bring to your life. Your value is not defined by what you possess. What does having the best mean to you and your self-worth? Only you can define that. And I feel like I need to say what the Eight of Pentacles represents, because that's what I was looking at, and I was like, But the Eight of Pentacles reverse represents self-judgment, impatience, and perfectionism. And, like, that's been my struggle recently, is, like, self-judgment. And plot twist, I've been suicidal again. Whoa. What just happened?
My candle was, like, nearly out, and it just went.
Me talking about suicide.
That,
God
like,
was
literally
"Do
as
it,
soon
bitch."
as you said it, it was like, woof. And, like, I didn't move or nothing, so I was like, God damn. But.
Oh, my God. Dude, I have to tell you this. Okay, so my dad, love my dad. Eric, hi. We love you. We do. We truly do. However, my dad is very religious.
Yes.
And he does not like that we've been ghost hunting. He's very much so against it, which is fine. That's his beliefs. That's okay. But I'm going to do what I want to do. And he sent me this YouTube video about how being a medium is like some kind of demonic Satan thing. And it was like the worst video I have ever seen, the worst like Christian pushing video ever. And I was like, Dad, don't ever send me shit like this again.
Does your father like me?
I don't know. Yeah, I think so. But no, he was like mad because my sister was like, I have a gift. I was born this way and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, well, we could probably cut that out. But like, she was,
I died.
You know, speaking her truth. And my dad was just like, I love you, but no, that's against God. And we were like, shut up, bro. Like, but I was like cackling at work because my dad was sending me a YouTube video about how if you talk to ghosts, you're fucking Satan.
So what about the people that talk to Jesus?
Exactly. You're talking to someone who's dead. He fucking died.
It's proven that the fucker did live once. Like, there's historical proof that he was alive. Whether if not,
you say you hear
Jesus.
if you say you hear Jesus, well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you you are channeling something. Sorry.
Like, what's the difference between someone that's talking to someone that has once lived on this plane and is now residing on another one, right? What's the difference between that and someone who is speaking to a voice in their head from someone that did not physically exist on this earth once? Food for thought.
Hot take.
All right, on that note.
Hot take. I get pissed every time somebody does something involving religion because it's like, why? What does this have to do with me?
I'm like, I'm just over here minding my own business.
I'm minding my own business too. My dad's the one sending YouTube videos.
It's like, I don't care that you go to church every Sunday.
He doesn't even do that.
I'm just speaking from my own personal experiences here. I'm like, I don't care if you go to church every Sunday, but like, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I mean, do whatever you want.
I went and then I was forcefully saved, so I'm.
Yeah,
that's
me
a
too.
story
And then,
for another.
and then we went to a Christian field trip thing for my youth group, and we went to watch a hockey game, and they were like, raise your hand if you've never been saved, and I raised my hand after I had been saved, and my fucking pastor was like, you're dumb. And I was like, bro, I still feel like I'm sinning every single day. I don't think a dunk in the water did anything to help that. And yeah, it was pretty funny.
That's pretty much the same thing that happened to me. They were asking questions, and I was surprised, being a smartass, and I was like, I've never been saved, and rose my hand in, like, a, dramatic fashion, which they saw, of course. And then I was dragged to the front of the church and made to read from the Bible, and they were like, you hath been saved, and I'm like,
thanks.
Chill, can I leave? Like, I went with a friend because she didn't have anyone to go with her on this church escapade camp thing, and I'm a lovely person.
Is it who I think it is? Okay. I was like, it's the only really religious person we know, right?
Yes, and to be fair, she is a lovely girl.
Lovely person.
She is so nice.
Very
one of the
religious.
Sweetest people you'll ever meet, but, like, the Lord is her savior, and there will be no other way. And, like,
God, she'd probably sprinkle me with holy water if she knew what I was about.
We wouldn't sprinkle. We'd be pelted with Nerf guns. Like,
it would be like a fucking fire hose.
I was gonna say, like, a humongous water balloon dropped from, like, a ceiling or something. Okay.
Oh, man. Okay, I want to put it out there. Believe whatever you want to believe. Perfectly fine with me. Do not push your beliefs on others.
Don't come for my bag, you feel.
Because that's when I will be upset. And I'll push my beliefs on you.
We promise you will like that a lot less. Now for our topic for today. Without further ado, the case we're getting into in this episode is The Boy in the Box. That's the most popular name for this case, but it is also referred to as the case of America's unknown child.
It's not a story, but this case is very strange.
It's weird, right?
It's so weird. And it did get spoiled for me, by the way. It did. But I'm still very, very excited to hear about it.
I mean, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you really, like, know about this case?
Like, literally 3 from, like, BuzzFeed Unsolved or whatever.
Okay, and theirs was pretty brief. I will be honest, I went back and watched their video, and I got more information. And I was like, okay. I started doing a happy dance. I was like, I got more information than the people at BuzzFeed Unsolved. So,
okay.
I'm ready to get into it.
All right, let's go.
This case and investigation are central to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which I think is an odd occurrence considering we're going to Paracon in Pennsylvania. So, like, there was a whole connection there. And this case began on Monday, February 25th, 1957, when the naked and badly beaten body of a young boy was discovered on the side of the Susquehanna Road in the area of Fox Chase, Pennsylvania. The boy's naked and malnourished body was found wrapped in a cheap blanket and placed inside a large cardboard box from JCPenney. Initially, the man who came across the boy's body was reluctant to report his findings. And, you know, I can understand that, right? You don't want to be the first one to report the body if you find it, because you're immediately making yourself a suspect. But then if you don't report it, and they find out you didn't report it, you're immediately making yourself a suspect. So it's like a catch-22 there. You see, the initial discovery happened 2 days prior on February 23rd when a peeping Tom was attempting to get a peek at the young ladies enrolled at Sister of Good Shepherd, which is a wayward home for troubled children.
Interesting.
However, instead of participating in his acts of lewd behavior, this man walked into a crime scene.
Yay!
The first thing he noticed was the cardboard box, which was unusual for the area. There wasn't a large amount of litter around at that time. And this was a no dumping zone. Like, you could get seriously fined if someone caught you putting trash in this area. So, with his curiosity piqued, he stepped closer and, inspected the box.
Mm-hmm.
After looking around the area a bit, the man saw the boy's head poking out of the end of the box. But he mistook it for a doll. So, he was a little spooked and pretty much fled the scene and went on his way. But as the days went by and he heard about the disappearance of a young girl from New Jersey, he returned to the scene. Because he didn't want to, if for some reason the girl from New Jersey had ended up in Pennsylvania, which honestly is not that far from Jersey, he didn't want to be the one responsible for not reporting if her body was there. This is when he did a bit more digging and discovered it was not a doll, but the battered body of a young boy. He once again fled the scene, and instead of immediately reporting his findings to the police, opted to go to his local church and confess his secrets. So, already we're on a roll. He's like, call the cops? Nah. God has a plan for this.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
I mean, it wasn't until after the priest suggested that he call the police that he decided to do just that.
That's awful!
The priest is like, God can only do so much. Please call the cops. Once the police received this report, the investigators quickly got to work. Sadly, though, because the boy's body was outside in a cardboard box in the middle of the winter, a lot of evidence was lost to the elements. What they were able to gather from the scene was that the boy was between the ages of 4 to 6 at the time of his death. The cardboard box once contained a bassinet sold by JCPenney, and that he was badly beaten to death. Within a 20-foot radius of the box, investigators came across a royal blue corduroy cap with a leather strap and buckle. The path leading up to this hat had been stomped down since the grass and weeds in the area were significantly overgrown. So, it was very easy to spot this in this wide open area. After examining the scene, the boy's body was brought in for an autopsy, which revealed quite a few things. Dr. Spellman, the autopsy technician on this case, confirmed that the boy was, in fact, between the ages of 4 to 6. He had bright blue eyes, and despite his hair being poorly shorn off, was a light blonde color. He was just shy of 4 feet tall and weighed only 30 pounds.
Holy shit.
So he was significantly malnourished.
Yeah, that's tiny.
30 pounds. What's 30 pounds? That's lighter than a sack of flour. 30 pounds.
Yeah.
Anyone can pick that up.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to the bruising covering the boy's body and face, there were several scars littering his pale skin. An older L-shaped scar underneath his chin, a 1-inch surgical scar on the left side of his chest, a round scar on his elbow, most likely from falling and scraping it pretty bad, and a scar most likely from a hernia surgery near his groin. If he wasn't properly being fed or like there was some type of issue of malnourishment, it could very easily be like a hernia, or say he was climbing a tree and fell out and really strained a muscle. It could be from anything. Completely normal, especially for children, I found out, which was odd. I didn't know children got hernias that often.
It's just interesting that he was so poorly taken care of, and yet he had scars from a surgery.
Exactly. So, we'll get into that a little later. But for the time being, he did have one more scar. And that was on his left ankle from what the autopsy technician believed to be a blood transfusion.
What?
Yes. So, the next thing I'm going to say is going to be a little strange, and I promise if you let me get through it, it's going to make more sense.
Okay.
He was circumcised. And you're probably like, why are you telling me about this child being circumcised? Well, it's because this meant that the family he came from had access to a doctor.
Oh.
At this time, it's the 1950s, so, like, you're not getting circumcised unless your family's fairly well off and has access to a doctor.
Interesting.
However, he did not have any of the vaccination marks that would indicate that he was enrolled in a public school. So at this time, they were not getting, like, flu shots. If you had, like, the measles or the mumps or something, they would cut, like, a piece of your skin off, put a piece of the virus or infection on top of that, let it heal, and your body would fight it that way. Because they hadn't yet developed the technology for, like, infusions and things like that. But so these things were much easier to be seen on his body, right? Further examination revealed deep wrinkles on the boy's palms and the bottoms of his feet. And this indicated that prior to or immediately after his death, he was submerged in water for a long period of time. So that, like, weird little wrinkly feeling you get on your fingers and your toes after you've been in, like, a hot tub. That's what's going on with him right now. Dr. Spellman also believed that the fatal beatings were administered by a blunt object, but he could not rule out intense pressure played a part in the boy's demise. So, like, if his head had been squeezed too tight when they were, like, shearing his hair off, but...
Okay.
Yes. So, a lot was really revealed in the autopsy. I'm not sure why my voice cracked, and I think I might have sounded a little like Lindsay Lohan there, but I'm gonna pause, I'm gonna take a drink, and it'll all be fine and dandy.
Gotta get the apple juice.
Yes. Once the autopsy was complete, the investigators posed the boy and took several photographs of his face. They had his face reconstructed using what I believe is some type of, like, paper mache, and distributed hundreds of thousands of flyers in the Philadelphia area. The hope was that someone would recognize the boy and come forward with information. However, it quickly became apparent that those efforts weren't going to prove successful. They then expanded their search area and passed out flyers to areas throughout eastern Pennsylvania and parts of southern New Jersey. But that too produced no valuable leads. Flyers were then mailed out with monthly gas bills and were circulated by local electrical companies, grocery stores, insurance agencies, and law enforcement offices. So they're really trying to get everything out. Pretty much everything just shy of the milk carton, because milkman. An article was put together and featured in the FBI's Law Enforcement Bulletin. Like, that's pretty much as big as you can get at this time, the Law Enforcement Bulletin of the FBI. But again, none of this proved even the least bit helpful. Somewhere, someone had to know something, but not a soul was willing to speak up for this unnamed boy. Investigators funneled their energy into looking for other leads and started with the cardboard box the boy was found in. As I mentioned before, this box once held a bassinet sold by JCPenney. So the investigators got a hold of the company to track down the sales channels and customers who purchased the bassinet. They unearthed that the box belonged to one of a dozen bassinets sold at a department store in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania, between December 3rd, 1956 and February 16th, 1957. Unfortunately, like most stores at the time, the department store did not keep a log of individual sales. Their record keeping was not great. I'm sure that makes Nat's head kind of explode a little bit, but... That being said, the investigators were able to locate and track down the other 11 bassinets. But they produced no new information. They were also unsuccessful at pulling any fingerprints off the cardboard box the boy was found in, because the elements had already started rotting it at that point. The blanket the boy was wrapped in was more of the same. The investigators tracked down the manufacturers, which happened to be in North Carolina and Quebec, of all places. But thousands upon thousands of blankets were produced, and the police were never able to track down anything from that lead. The one final piece of evidence from the crime scene they had to look at was the blue corduroy cap. Thankfully, the cap had a label inside, which pointed them in the direction of Robbins Eagle Hat and Cap Company, located in no other than Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So they didn't have to go far for this part of the investigation. After speaking to Hannah Robbins, the proprietor from the company, investigators found out that the cap was one of 12 made from scrap pieces of corduroy prior to May 1956. Robbins was actually able to identify the cap.
Whoa.
Because
that's pretty big.
It is big. The caps, the dozen of them, were not originally made with the strap and buckle. So it was just a plain corduroy cap. But the purchaser, a man in his late 20s with blonde hair and blue eyes, requested it be sewn on a few months after his purchase. So, she also said that the customer had some facial similarities to the boy in the box.
Papa?
Exactly. But, just like everything else in this case, she was unable to identify either the man or the boy by name, nor did she have an address for that particular customer. So,
weird.
By this point, the investigation had been going south for 5 months. This boy had been found 5 months ago. With no solid leads, the investigators made the decision to bury the boy in an unmarked grave in Philadelphia's Potter's Field. This field was located near the Philadelphia State Hospital's Bayberry location, which was a mental institution. The investigators paid for the graves themselves by rounding up donations and scouring for funds within their own home. Eventually, they were able to erect a simple headstone that read, "Heavenly Father, bless this unknown boy." From that point, the case went cold for nearly 40 years. Until new DNA technology came about in November 1998. I'm telling you, 1998's a great year. Some pretty important things happened then. Like my birth.
Not mine.
I was give it a few months after. It was at this time that they exhumed the boy's body to collect DNA evidence to test against possible relatives. However, they were unable to extract any valuable samples at that time. They tried again 2 years later, in 2000, to extract DNA from his teeth specifically, but that too was unsuccessful. So we're just getting this whole continuously rolling train of just unsuccessful. And the police are being very beaten up at this point. The same investigators have been working on this case for, is it centuries? Decades? I can't ever remember the proper one. Decades. I don't know why I can't ever remember. I'm just like, centuries, I know it's 10. I know, but like I can't, like, my mind doesn't make that connection. There's like a blockade in that part. But they've been working on this for years and years and years. Even after 2 failed attempts, they were unwilling to give up and successfully extracted several DNA samples from his teeth in April 2001.
Wow.
So, like 40 years after this poor boy had been found, they were finally able to extract some DNA from his teeth. Sadly, though, it was still only 2001. And they still didn't have the proper tools to test said DNA evidence. But they were smart enough to put it on ice and try and save it for further down the line use. Which was smart. Okay.
Wait.
Now time for a deep breath and to take a break so Nat can ask questions, share what she thinks.
I do have questions.
Okay, hit me with them.
So, is this a solved case? Can you tell us that?
No.
You can't tell us, or it's not solved?
It is not a solved case.
What?
However, there has been some new things that have come to light about this case in recent years after the release of BuzzFeed Unsolved's video.
Oh.
So this is that extra information I'm getting here, through doing some digging and some due diligence. But what else do you have? Any more questions? General thoughts so far?
It's just really disturbing.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I can really say about it is it's so disturbing how little information they were able to find about this poor child.
I know.
And they could have had that information. She recognized the hat.
Yeah. If record keeping had just been a little bit better.
Yeah. And that's like every cold case. That's like every single cold case. If record keeping or DNA or a crime scene investigation were better, like all of these cases would be solved. It is just insane.
True. But, I mean, I guess there is the silver lining that some detectives that do their due diligence and are smart enough to say, okay, we don't have the proper tools to test this evidence now. But if we take the bargain and wait a little bit, because they're seeing these advancements in technology, they're like maybe 10, 20 years down the line, we'll actually unearth some information here that we didn't have years ago and we don't have the capabilities of getting now. So as long as they don't let their ego get in the way, a lot of the times these cases do see some, like, new paths, new evidence turning up. But we also should point out that this is the 1950s, the late 1950s. So there's no, like, high society, but there is certainly lines drawn in the sand about who can say what, who can say things when and where. And is this a case where more people knew what was going on and were just so afraid of their place in society that they wouldn't come forward to share anything? In this half of the episode, we're going to cover 2 of the most credible theories and chat about where this case stands today. So, we're diving into the more investigative, nitty-gritty side of it all. The first theory I'm going to cover is what is known as the foster home theory. Everyone knows today foster homes, by majority, aren't that great. I mean, some people that foster children are wonderful, right? but I feel like you hear more horror stories than you do positive ones. And this isn't really any better. It involved a foster home that was located about a mile from the area where the boy's body was found. In 1960, Remington Bristow, an employee of the medical examiner's office, dodgily pursued the case until his death in 1993. He contacted a New Jersey psychic who told him to look for a house similar to the appearance of the previously mentioned foster home. So, like, he was just seeing some things, you know? He was like, something's drawing me here. And I don't know your stance on psychics being involved in true crime, but I think a lot of times it can get wishy-washy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do I believe in psychics? Yes, I'm sure people have that ability, but then there are the ones that do kind of try and take advantage of that cash that comes through by giving their thoughts, right? So I'm like, there's a time, there's a place. When he brought the psychic to the city, she led Bristow straight to the house. So whether this is the house she actually saw, or she was like, yep, this one's good enough. You know what I mean? Like, no one really knows what's going inside her head. So you kind of have to be a little skeptical. And this is me trying not to lean so far to one side, but also kind of try and debunk things as we're going along.
Mm-hmm.
Despite not much coming of this theory, because police could not really dig up much, Bristow refused to let it go and continued investigating the case on his own. So, if you remember anything from the BuzzFeed Unsolved case that they covered, they had this, like, long-running skit about a man that basically had, like, a papier-mâché version of this boy's face in, like, a briefcase.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And he was like, have you seen this boy? This is this man.
Oh.
So, like, he took obsession to a new level with this. Like, it's one thing if you're, like, involved, right? And you feel really passionate about this, but you don't need to go around with, like, a papier-mâché version of a dead child's face in your briefcase and ask people if they've seen him. He did after attending an estate sale at the foster home because either the people that lived there had passed on or they were selling it and didn't want to bring the furniture. Bristow discovered a bassinet similar to the one sold at JCPenney. Not the same one, similar. And blankets hanging on the clothesline similar to that which the boy's body had been wrapped in.
Interesting.
But, like, this is the 1950s, right? You really have that production line going. A lot of things look the same. He strongly believed that the child belonged to the stepdaughter of the man who ran the foster home. And this is where those horror stories of the foster homes kind of come into play here. He claimed that the stepfather was involved in an inappropriate sexual relationship with the young girl and she got pregnant. So, in other words, he molested her because apparently we're too shy to say that, but that's what happened. And they decided to hide the boy away. But when he died accidentally, the man disposed of the boy so that the girl would not be exposed as an unwed mother, which was, of course, largely concerning and a huge social stigma in the 1950s. Regardless of this quote-unquote evidence Bristow collected, the police were, of course, unable to find any real links between the family and the boy in the box. However, in 1998, Philadelphia Police Lieutenant Tom Augustine, who is still in charge of this investigation, interviewed the stepfather and the daughter, whom he had married. Side note, that's just fucking strange.
That is so fucking weird.
This interview confirmed that the family was not involved in the case, A DNA test ruled out the stepdaughter as the boy's mother, and the investigation of the foster home theory was closed. I mean, as just absolutely strange and unsettling as that information is, they could not find any type of solid evidence that linked anything back to this. So at first it seemed like, a really good theory. He found these similar items.
Yeah, but can it not just be a child that was at the foster home that they decided to pick on and abuse? Because that happens a lot.
It does happen a lot. But I guess they didn't see anything strong enough in that case to point in that direction. Apparently the stepfather was into molesting young girls, but they couldn't dig up anything on him molesting any young boys. So, which they are, I believe, unsure if the boy was molested. Because elements kind of kills a lot of things, and they couldn't determine a time of death because of the evidence and the elements kind of disintegrating them. So, who knows? The other theory involves another abuser, this time an abusive mother, and a woman who identifies as M. Not like EM, just the letter M. This theory emerged in 2002, so significantly later. And this is when M came forward with her story. According to M, her mother purchased the boy from his biological parents in the summer of 1954. Why he was sold, I don't know. I'm pretty sure this is the time of, the Great Depression, so, they were probably just trying to survive. Maybe they thought she could give him a better life. Who knows? Maybe that's me thinking optimistically about, his parents in particular. But M's mother sexually, physically, and emotionally abused the boy for nearly 2.5 years before murdering him for throwing up in the bathtub. Yeah. M's mother then hastily cut off the boy's hair, wrapped him in his makeshift coffin, and forced M to help move him to the vacant lot where he was later found. M then went on to explain that a male motorcyclist who was passing by stopped to ask if they needed any help because he just thought they were carrying a box. He didn't know that there was a boy inside. And after her mother ignored him for several minutes, he simply drove away. He was like, okay, they apparently really don't want any help. What's interesting about this account, because, it could just be written off, whatever, someone making up a story. This is 50 years later, really, at this point. This account corroborates with confidential testimony given by a male witness in 1957. This man saw the motorcyclist, he saw the woman, he saw her daughter. And for the longest time, I believe, to protect this man's identity, this was not public knowledge. Although the investigators considered this story to be plausible, they were on the fence about M's statement. Why, you may ask?
Yeah, why?
Well, that would be because M has a history of mental illness. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that essentially writing off her story was the correct thing to do by any means. But I am asking you to keep in mind that this is the early 2000s. And, the stigma around mental health at that time was very, very different than it was now.
I mean, you have to consider everything that M is saying that she had to do when she was a child. No wonder she would have mental health issues.
Not to mention, at this time in the 1950s, this is the peak time of operation for mental asylums in the United States. At this time, more than 500,000 Americans were confined to state psychiatric institutions, many of them for life. So, this is that time period when, if a woman breathed wrong, she would have been sent to a mental institution. So
and
who
like
says
electroshock therapy?
Exactly. So who says that M wasn't a case like that? Like her mother couldn't deal with her behavior anymore because it was so inappropriate and sent her off to a mental institution. And that could be where her issues come from. I mean, I don't know. The conversation and understanding around mental health is very different at that time, whether it be the 1950s or it be 2002. People were not receiving proper treatment if they needed it at all, medication. No one was making an attempt to understand the different brains and how they operated and they functioned. And even if someone was outside of perceived as like quote unquote normal, they were still a credible person.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why you wouldn't take that into account.
Yeah, I don't get it.
They did at least have the courtesy to ask M's childhood neighbors who had access to the house about the boy. And they all stated that M's claims were ridiculous and that there was never a boy there.
Oh.
So it's like, multiple people are saying no. But could it be a situation where they also partook in the abuse of this boy and they're not going to rat anyone out?
Or the child was hidden the whole time and they just never saw him.
After further investigation, they were still unable to turn anything up. And with that, the case once again went cold. Now, this is where most reports of the case on the boy in the box stops. But not ours. On December 8th, 2020, the Philadelphia Police Department commissioner named Danielle Outlaw, can we just side note here, that's an amazing fucking name for a police commissioner, Danielle Outlaw. She announced an amazing breakthrough in the case. The poor abandoned boy found dead in February 1957 finally has a name. Joseph Augustus Zarelli.
Whoa, I just got goosebumps.
Joseph was identified through genetic genealogy. The samples received in 2001 were uploaded to the genetic database, which allowed detectives to identify a match on the boy's mother's side. Combing through birth records allowed them to locate his father. Better yet, the boy's parents had 3 other children. Other than this information, the detective remained secretive, which is no surprise, since this is now once again an open investigation. The police are not releasing the names of Joseph's parents out of respect for the living siblings. Now, before you're like, hey, why did they deserve respect? If they were around the same age as Joseph or younger, there is nothing they would have been able to do to help their brother. They might not even remember him.
But also, we're not certain that the parents had anything to do with it.
Exactly.
What if somebody kidnapped him and did this to him?
Exactly. But some members of the public would not recognize that and place the blame on those siblings for not doing anything to help prevent this. Because as a society, we're just kind of fucked up in the head. So I have to say I agree with the detective's decision here to not release those names.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
We have the boy's last name.
We don't
so if you
know
want to
what
do that
happened.
digging, you can do the digging, right?
Yeah. We don't know what happened, so there's no reason
No.
to go after the family.
It's just very unfortunate that a lot of these cases, like this one, all this discovery was found in like 2020.
Yeah.
Height of the pandemic. So like, this is why a lot of people don't know this, because it wasn't breaking news.
Yeah.
Because you had so many other things
Yeah.
going on. Like, what was it? Not the Night Stalker. Why can't I think of his name? The Golden State Killer. He was also discovered in 2020, I believe, or 2021. And a lot of people, like, didn't know because COVID, right? So, the timing's just very unfortunate, even though these were humongous breakthroughs. And to close out this case, I have a few words from Commissioner Outlaw. This child's story was always remembered by the community. His story was never forgotten. This is still an active homicide investigation, and we still need the public's help in filling in this child's story. This announcement only closes one chapter in this little boy's story, while opening up a new one. Joseph Augustus Zarelli was born on January 13th, 1953. He was 4 years old when he died in February 1957. And that, my gorgeous Phantom Fam, is the tragic story of Joseph Augustus Zarelli, known as the Boy in the Box or America's Unknown Child. I'm happy to say that we finally have a name for that precious boy, and if any updates arise, we will be the first to let you know. Or, if you think you have any leads, please contact the Philadelphia Police Commissioner.
Yeah, for real.
I mean, how crazy is that?
That's crazy.
70 years after this boy was found.
This gives me
60.
hope, though.
A period of time. Because I can't math.
This definitely gives me hope for, like, some of the more really, really famous cold cases. Like, JonBenet Ramsey.
Did you not see?
I did see.
That they found some type of new DNA on her. So that investigation is also, once again, open and active.
Yeah. Which I will be watching meticulously because that I have been following the JonBenet Ramsey case since high school because we talked about it in my forensic investigation class and we went through the slideshow of all of her photos from the death scene, and it's been something that's really stuck with me for a long time. Like, we graduated in 2017.
I know. Don't say it. It's gross. It ages us.
And that my senior year is when I had that class. So
yeah,
that's how long it stuck with me.
I also get a huge sense of hope from this. It's sad that we still don't know, but at least giving the poor child a name, you know, that's a humongous thing. It's been like 60, 70 years.
That's what I love most about, like, cold cases, is when they finally find that one shred of evidence that they can use to identify something.
Yep.
Like, what is it? The man from Somerton? Or what is his name?
Every time!
I don't get it. I don't know what it is.
Oh, hold on.
What is it? The Somerton man?
I'm finding his name. It is the Somerton man. And let me find his name since we know it now. Hold on, I gotta do some digging. Do. They believe his name is Carl Webb.
Have we discussed this already?
I don't know if we discussed his name. His name was Carl Charles Webb, and he was born on November 16th, 1905, in
But they don't know what happened
a
to him?
suburb of Melbourne.
But they don't know what happened to him.
Not that I believe so.
That's
We'll
like
cover it
another
at some
boy in the
point,
box.
but
yeah. It's just, I love cold cases. I don't love them for the sake of, you know, what happened to the people or anything like that. I just love the mystery and, like, the puzzle behind it and how nobody gives up. No. And that gives me hope. If something ever happens to me and I'm, like, a Jane Doe somewhere in the world, that hopefully somebody somewhere doesn't give up and they figure it out.
Rest assured that you would have someone looking for you.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure some of these people have people looking for them, but they just die in such a mysterious circumstance or
True.
somewhere that they're not easily identifiable.
No, I mean, I thought the subject matter itself is not fun, but it was exciting to be able to reveal that he has a name.
Yeah.
You know? Because I haven't seen anywhere on any other type of true crime podcast, anywhere on YouTube, really, like any big network that's spoken about this. It's like kind of just been pushed off the radar because, you know.
And that kind of happened with a lot of things because of COVID.
Yeah.
Like the UFOs. I know we talked about that.
We definitely talked about that.
Like so many things completely flew under the radar because of COVID.
Pun totally intended.
It's just so crazy. So crazy.
It's a crazy world we live in, my friend.
I really enjoyed that episode.
I thought that was a good one.
Yeah.
You know? And I guess this is us wrapping it up here, my friends. To stay up to date on all things Wading into the Void, like when we go to Paracon in May,
Yes.
follow us on social media. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at
Wading into the Void.
And you can bet we might not go live from there, but there's going to be a shit ton on the story about our Paracon adventures.
Oh, for sure. We're going to have
we
pictures
don't get
with anybody that we meet. Yeah.
Like, I am so excited for that. You don't even know. You can also chat with us in our kick-ass Discord server, which is always linked in the episode notes. And if you're looking for some super awesome merch from the pod, you can find it at our website,
Wading into the Void! Huh?
www.
What is going on?
I skipped a W. But you can find it on our website, www.wadingintothevoid.com.
You did it again.
Fuck me. You say it.
www.wadingintothevoid.com. You know what to do. Search it in the address bar.
There's too many
It'll pop
W's.
www.
It really will pop up, and that's so exciting. It pops up. www.wadingintothevoid.com. Other than that, Nat, why don't you tell our listeners about how else they can support our little show?
Well, my friends, we have two options for you. One option is Patreon. However, we really don't use it that much. But if you'd like to support us there, you can do so by searching our little name, Wading into the Void, in the address bar on Patreon website. And we should be the first and only people that come up because our name is amazing. And the other option that we have for you, which might be easier for most people, they don't have to create a new login or anything. If you use Spotify or Anchor, you can just click the link directly on our main podcast page.
Hell yeah.
And it'll go directly to the Anchor donation page.
And you just use your Spotify login. Easy as that.
And the lowest you can donate is 99 cents, which, think about it. When's the last time you ever bought anything for 99 cents?
So far ago in my lifetime, I don't even know. The dollar store is not even a dollar store anymore.
Yeah, it's over $1. So think about that, guys. 99 cents. You could donate to us once a month, 99 cents. You know how much of an impact that would have on our podcast?
You would help us with our trip to Paracon.
It would be a huge, huge deal for us if each person listening donated 99 cents, which is like chump change for most people. But it's so much for us because we can use that for things like Paracon. We can use that that's our dinner. You know, we're going to do something fun at Paracon, you know?
Explore Penhurst Asylum.
Like, I think our tickets we could pay for with our with the stuff that we made from Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
And Spreadshop.
Hell yeah.
Because at this point we've made almost $150, which is crazy.
Woo!
It is crazy.
A big thank you to
Huge
anyone
thank
who's
you
donated.
to anyone who's donated, but also to ourselves for buying our own merch all the time.
Yes. We will be repping it at Paracon.
Oh,
Should have made like a little QR code and put it out like a tramp stamp on the butt.
Oh, that would have been a great idea. We can make stickers.
Missed opportunity.
We can make QR code stickers.
We're bringing the business cards. It'll be fine. It's got the QR code.
Oh yeah, it's got
you like
the QR
this merch?
code.
Here you go.
Groovy.
On that note, until next time, Phantom Fam, follow in the footsteps of the people of Philadelphia and keep the pressure on law enforcement to solve some of those cold cases. With advancements in technology and exciting new ways to test DNA evidence, you never know what you might help reveal just by pushing.
Yes.
Catch you next time.
Bye.